Thank you very much, Randy.
Yeah.
Chris and Randy, you don't mind if I use first names, do you, or would you prefer Mr. Schaff and Mr. Erdman?
You can use first names.
Yeah, I think first names are just fine.
Good. That's great, and I was wondering, you guys are both, past experience with this, and so do you have any further questions for me before we begin?
I do not.
Okay. So I believe we're going to begin with Randy Erdman. He will have a 2-minute opening statement. Go ahead, Randy.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. It's important to have you here this evening. And also thank you to the Albert Lea Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Tim Engstrom, editor of the Albert Lea Tribune, and both the local radio stations, Mr. Ron Hunter and Mr. Paul Shea, for their help this evening with this debate or public forum. My name is Randall Erdman, and I would like to be your next 4th District County Commissioner. I've had experience before in local government. I ran for a city council in 2003, served as 2nd Ward City Councilor from 2003 to 2007, and proudly served as your Albert Lea Mayor from 2007 to 2009. I have that history behind me, knowing what the city's needs are. I believe that Freeborn County has a great opportunity now to move ahead, trudge ahead, come out in front of some of the counties around us, and I believe Albert Lea is the engine that drives the county, and we need to feed that engine. As Albert Lea goes, so goes Freeborn County. I don't believe we've ever had a county commissioner who has served on the city side, who understands their needs, and there's a lot of unique projects on the fringes of the city right now that need to be addressed. And I believe that your next 4th District County Commissioner can have a big influence on those projects. Some of those are the northwest development in the northwest area of the city, the Stables projects, the St. John's project, also the flooding on East Main. The watershed district needs to have a little closer supervision with the local option sales tax. A lot of people worked hard on that sales tax, and there needs to be some more accountability towards the final goals on those particular items. Thank you, and thanks for coming out this evening.
Thank you to the Chamber and everyone that is hosting tonight's debate. My name is Dr. Christopher Schaff. I'm the last of 8 children of Dr. Niles and Ori Schaff. I graduated from Albert Lea High School in 1992, attended the University of Minnesota, and graduated from Logan College of Chiropractic. I've been in practice in downtown Albert Lea since 2002. I was first elected to Freeborn County Board in 2006 and re-elected in 2010. I've served on the transportation committees at both the state and federal levels. With the support of the entire county board, I've seized the opportunity to become more involved as a commissioner outside the borders of Freeborn County. I've been able to bring back to Freeborn County the benefits of innovative ideas, upcoming changes at the state and federal levels, and state lobbying efforts that netted Freeborn County $750,000 in 2013. Freeborn County has had many amazing accomplishments. The proudest moment is the selection of Albert Lea for the new VA clinic. We secured the federal jail contract in 2009, which currently employs 18 people, as well as contributing $2.5 million in revenue each year. This year we implemented curbside recycling program in Albert Lea that continues to produce amazing results. Our meetings are now televised. We have reduced staff through attrition and retirements, and we have a full-time emergency management director. All of these accomplishments have come while decreasing the amount of county property tax that the people of the 4th District pay. I look forward to the future of Freeborn County. I ask for your continued support, and more importantly, I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Now, with the questioning, we're going to begin with Chris, since you went second on the opening statement. And the first question is, what do you think will be the biggest challenge Freeborn County will face in the next 10 years?
I think the next 10 years, it's probably state and federal mandates. So often we talk, about 90% of what the county does is state and federal programs. From nursing home contracts, to Department of Human Services, to the county, the jail, as well as the court system. So about 90% of what we do is mandated from the state and federal level. So what's going to happen in 10 years, we've already seen with Min Choices, which is a program for seniors, we have to hire about 6 to 8 people in the next few years. And as those things come down, we're beholden to do these programs. And I think that's the challenge, and we have to stay vigilant and have the contacts at the state and national level.
Thank you, Chris. Randy?
I believe probably one of the biggest challenges here is reversing the trend of loss of population. We need to grow this county and grow this community. We've lost about 5% since the 2000 census. We lost about 5% in population. Austin is growing. They grew. We need to grow. We've got room to grow. We've got a lot of the infrastructure in place. We need to grow the workforce. That's the biggest complaint that we have here is we have no workforce. There's nothing wrong with becoming a retirement community, but we can also become a growing retirement community. We have a lot of things in place to do that. The county is a beautiful place to live. There's a lot of activities you can do here. So I think the biggest challenge is growing our population. It'll help the school district, the county tax base, the city tax base, everything.
Thank you very much, Randy. Randy, this next question will begin with you. From an economic development standpoint, what do you plan to do to support downtown Albert Lea?
Well, before I was elected mayor, when I was on the Albert Lea City Council, we tried to do a program that was called the Broadway Ridge Renewal Fund. And so we went to Freeborn County and asked them to participate, which they did participate. And it was originally a loan program, but then it started out where it became a grant program. And I think that the current commissioners have supported that. We could do more to support that. Remember, you have that government center on the one end of Broadway that you put in excess of $20 million in there. You've got a big investment in downtown Albert Lea. There's estimates that there's about 4,000 people that work in downtown Albert Lea. We need a lot of amenities to go with that to serve those people that work down there, come down there every day. They're not all living here, so there are things that we need in downtown Albert Lea.
Thank you, Randy. Chris? I think first, we have supported the Broadway Ridge Renewal Fund. Through the years, it started as a loan program, and I think it was wise that the city changed that to a grant program, and we continue to fund it. We can, I think, as it's used more, I think that it'll be funded more. We've seen the benefits, especially the last year, in seeing the downtown redevelopment. And I think certainly as a commissioner and as a business owner in downtown Albert Lea, I'm looking forward to the continued development of the area.
Thank you, Chris. This next question is for you. Are there too many county roads? Can some be closed and not maintained, thus saving the taxpayers dollars?
Yes, as transportation, we have a $3.5 million deficit each year maintaining the roads that we have. But everybody wants their road. So we've actually looked at, there's a couple roads that we've looked at that are used for agricultural purposes, that you can access the land from another direction, but it would require a quarter of a mile or to go around to access that farmland. And we're currently working with several landowners in those type of situations so that we reduce what we have to do for maintaining the resources that we have, because the funding isn't there and it's not coming back anytime soon.
Thank you, Chris. Randy?
I believe that you could probably turn over some of the these roads to township, and then they could use them for minimum maintenance roads. I do know the importance, coming from a farm, I grew up on a farm, the importance of agriculture to a county and the importance of having good roads and bridges for transportation so they can get their products to town and to the grain elevators and so on, the railheads and things like that. I believe that the current county engineer has done a great job on the roads and bridges in Freeborn County. She seems to be real resourceful on getting extra money. And I do know that there is a shortage also, and we need to just constantly be vigilant about trying to get more money for roads and bridges for the county.
Thank you, Randy. Randy, this next question is for you. Should there be playground equipment at county parks?
My understanding is there's 4 county parks, none of them have playground equipment. I don't understand why they don't. I think it would be a good idea to have playground equipment there. There is, I think, probably a liability issue. Someone would fear that. But some of the new playground equipment is pretty safe, a lot safer than it used to be. And I know that some service clubs might use that as a project if you were to engage them. So there may be minimal cost or no cost at all to the county. And it would be a good idea to have it. Just, you know, you want to attract people here, you got to make things attractive.
Chris?
Certainly in some of the parks, I think that could be appropriate. Pickerel Lake Park would be first and foremost in mind, but there's certainly White's Woods would be difficult to do that. I think in 8 years of being commissioner, not one person has ever come up to our board meeting, ever called anybody that I'm aware of on the phone asking for playground equipment. I think we should be more concerned about $2.5 million a year in out-of-home placement costs for juveniles, $1.5 million a year in paying for treatment costs for individuals in Freeborn County. I think we need to have priorities.
Thank you, Chris. This next question is for you. What is being done with the wind turbine tax money, and do you have a better idea for its use?
When the wind turbine tax, so Alliant Energy built the wind farm. It's about 120 turbines. That wind turbine tax goes part to the county, part to the local township that it is in. But we were not aware, and when it first came up, we were not aware of how much that tax money would be or could be. And so in our budgeting, we've kind of come into it in the last, having this run for 3 years, we're aware of what the budgeting is. Basically, it's been going into reserves right now because when I became commissioner 8 years ago, the state auditor, if you remember, the state auditor came in and said that you had 2 months of reserves, and they require 6 months. And in these 8 years, we've built it up to the 6 months. And so that's part of how we've done it.
Thank you, Chris. Andy?
I'm not aware of how much they're collecting on that tax, but I think one good use for that tax right now would be to remove that substation that's down on South Broadway that they're working on right now. I think that's, you come into town and you see that and that beautiful courthouse right there, and there's that substation. Now, they'll tell you it can't be moved, but anything can be done if there's enough pressure on anyone to do it, if politically someone has the will to do it. I know that they're probably, I thought maybe they were moving it, but I guess what they're doing is upgrading it. At one time, if people remember, there was a substation at the entrance to the fairgrounds, and they did move that. So maybe that would be something that could be done with it. I don't know how much they're collecting though, so I would have to come up to speed on that.
Thank you very much, Randy. Randy, this next question is for you. Should Department of Human Services be streamlined through partnering with neighboring counties?
Yes, if you can do that, that's great. If you can streamline and by using other counties' resources and having a joint operation, that would be helpful. They've done that across the border. They put Hancock, Winnebago, and Worth County together with their social services. But yet then they have transportation issues, driving from county to county and things like that, and supervision issues and things like that. But I'm one that we do need the Human Services Department and some of the things that they provide. There are people that can't work, and there are people that need those human services.
First of all, I'd like to remind them that in the state of Iowa, the Department of Human Services is run by the state. So it's run by the state, so all counties, it affects all counties. In Minnesota, there's been some. In fact, in 2010, our census, if we fell below 30,000 as a county, we'd have to look at combining. And we're above that right now. But in that time, we looked at combining with Mower County, for example, Faribault County, for example. And it really wasn't in the cards at that time, but I think it could come down in the future. And we were part of a redesign effort within 12 counties, and we dropped out of it because of the costs involved in the implementation.
Thank you very much, Chris. This next question is for you. Do you support spending county dollars to buy the railroad tracks for a trail to Heartland?
No county dollars are being spent on that.
That's
It's all
the
from,
question.
okay, so 950,000 of it is a state grant, and 150,000 of it is a federal grant. So all told, the 1.1 million, and we offered to UP where we should be hearing any day now. I think they've accepted the offer. It's just a matter of paperwork. It's gone through the DNR, but I think, Tim, you may remember the first meeting that we had on this, that Commissioner Belshon was the chair at the time, and he declared that we would not be using any county property tax money to purchase that land, and therefore we didn't.
Thank you, Chris. Randy?
Well, the Lassard Amendment, the 3/8 of 1% sales tax that the state voted in 2008, there's grant money available for those types of things, and I think that probably need to be a little more aggressive on applying for some of these things for the trails. I know that the bridge out by Hayward, there's a lot of people that would like to see that installed also, but it all takes money, and there's only so much money to go around. You just have to continue to be vigilant on applying for these grants and doing what you can to get those bike trails finished.
Thank you, Randy. Randy, this next question is for you. And like that last question, I try to keep them as the questioner asks within some reason, but feel free if the question has a factual error or a different view to share your view or your fact. So this next question is for you, Randy. How do you feel about the use of sales tax dollars to give bonuses to the watershed district staff?
About like the state auditor did, said it wasn't in the public's best interest. That was pretty blatant, and that just shows you that maybe we need to take a little more longer look at these watershed districts. This is a fairly new phenomena. They've only been in place for around 10 years, and maybe the administration of that watershed district might need to change. Moore County, the Cedar River Watershed District contracts with Moore County, $90,000 with Moore County Soil and Water for administration. And they have their board, of course, and they carry out the administration through Moore County Soil and Water. I don't think it was a good idea, and I don't think it was a good idea to buy the dredge either.
Thank you, Randy. Chris?
First of all, the watershed was set up in a certain way. To compare it with the soil and water district that we elect those people is a little different. It was set up that it was under, at that time, the county board appointed, and we've changed that process from 8 years ago. It used to be, well, I know Joe, so do you know Joe? Well, we should put Joe on the watershed. Now we go through an interview process, and it's like half an hour each person and they answer questions. Now, going back to the state auditor and their report, I would agree, because Freeborn County were the people that we alerted the state auditor to the situation, and that's why they investigated it.
So you're saying you dislike the bug? Right? Thank you, Chris. And this next question is for you. Why did you decide to run for county commissioner?
I initially ran in 2006 because there was a need in the community, and there still is, on just like he said, we need to grow the community, and we need to grow the community with a younger generation, and a younger generation has to step up to get this future going and get the jobs here. I'm continually impressed at how many of my classmates have gone away to school and have been coming back. I would say that there's probably double the amount of my classmates that live back in the community now compared to when it was 8 years ago.
Thank you, Chris. Randy?
Well, I felt that my experience that I gained in local government or municipal government would be helpful on the county board. I think I could bring some balance to the county board as far as representing the citizens of Albert Lea. Mr. Schaaf has done a fine job, I believe. He's a younger man than I am, but I still think that maybe my experience right now would be beneficial on the county board. That's why I ran for 4th District County Commissioner.
Thank you, Randy. Randy, this next question is for you. Are you fine with county board meetings happening at 8:30 a.m. Tuesdays, or would you prefer a different time and day?
I would like to see them a different day. You know, it's kind of like when the community went from 2 years to 4 years for mayor. Why did we elect a mayor for 2 years? Because we've done that since 1904. That's why. I think that in today's society, we have a 24-hour society. People are busy. They'd like to attend meetings. They'd like to be informed. But I think 8:30 in the morning is kind of unrealistic for that, especially now with the way things are. I think that all 3 or 4 governing bodies should use the council chambers with the government channel. They should upgrade the equipment up there, and they can all be on live and make use of that so people in the community are better informed, so we can get more people involved and more people to participate in this community to grow this community.
Thank you, Randy. Chris?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Are you fine with county board meetings happening at 8:30 a.m. Tuesday, or would you prefer a different time and day?
I would appreciate a different time of day. First of all, 8:30, I really don't like meeting anywhere at 8:30 in the morning. I also have to close my business for Tuesday mornings, and so it's always been difficult. When I came on the county board, I brought up the idea of having night meetings, thinking that maybe we would get more people coming. Now, 8 years ago, there were a lot of people coming to the county board meetings, and we had, the more informed people are better, but we had, 8 years ago, we had some private citizen coming to every meeting and taping us, and then taking it down to Charter and putting it on TV. Now, we do have televised meetings. We are looking at upgrading the equipment so that we can do better. We do have it within-house of having it live on our website, in-house for employees to be able to watch. And I think going forward, I think that's something that we'll be able to do it live on the website.
Thank you. The next question, Chris and Randy, was going to be, but you both addressed it, but if you want to talk about it further, could the county board meetings be broadcast live in spite of being in the mornings? So go ahead, Chris, I'll let you talk for, it probably won't take a full minute.
Yeah, I think, so first of all, I think we have the ability, we're very close to being able to put it live on the website. It's on the website that you can look at old meetings now. Live on TV, I think we might be able to do that with the old equipment. The problem that we have at the county is a building built in 1880, 1885, probably isn't quite set up for the technology of today. And so we have some issues getting that together.
Thank you, Chris. Randy? This is, could the county board meetings be broadcast live in spite of being in the morning?
I know they really made some progress with, when you go online and watch the meeting, it's a lot clearer and a lot better than it was. When they show the tape on the government channel, it's not very good quality. You are paying on your charter cable bill, everyone that lives within the city of Alberta, a 4.5% fee, and that's on your internet and cable. And they're supposed to be using some of that money to upgrade the facilities, and they could share some of that with the county to upgrade their TV and internet capabilities also, I believe. And it's something that, like I say, if we've got a better informed citizenry, that's what we're really after, what I'm really after. It's better if people really know than, well, you know what I heard? Well, that's not what I heard.
Thank you, Randy. Randy, this next question is for you. What can or would you do to increase cooperation with the cities and with the townships of Freeborn County?
Well, I think it's really important that you demonstrate that they are important, first of all. And when I was the mayor, I would go to League of Cities meetings, even if they were in, way off in one corner of the county on some night that wasn't a good fit for me. I'd still try to go to show people that they are important. I mean, the whole county's important to county government, and we need to demonstrate that there is value in the small towns and the townships, and they do need a voice. Their voice needs to be heard, and we need to demonstrate that there is value with them. So it's important.
Thank you, Randy. Chris?
I think personally, I've been to the township meetings and then also the League of Freeborn County Cities meetings. I was just there just a few weeks ago at the one held at the Legion. And I think continuing to foster that dialogue, I think we've done a pretty good job, but can always do better.
Thank you, Chris. Chris, this next question is for you. Do the county commissioners receive the right amount of compensation? And would you support a per diem for the daily expenses like the legislature has?
Many years ago, Freeborn County chose not to do a per diem, and I think that occurred somewhere in the 90s, something like that. And I think of the 87 counties, Freeborn County, I think, is the only one that doesn't do a per diem. To my knowledge and in my involvement with the Association of Minnesota Counties, that's the information that I have. Compensation, I think the one thing, I think in 8 years, there's been one increase, and every time we've stayed the same and taken the same pay in 7 out of the 8 years.
Thank you, Chris. Randy?
I don't know exactly what the compensation is. I'm sure it's more than fair. I not running for it to be compensated. I'm running to get other things done. I do know that, as Mr. Schaaf said, some counties, I don't know for sure, he would know better than I do about their per diem, but I think that that's probably not appropriate, and you wouldn't have the support of the rest of the board. So I think probably the compensation that they receive right now is more than fair.
Thank you, Randy. Randy, this next question is for you. Was the quick trip turn lane access to Bridge Avenue the best solution for that agreement? The point on that issue was, I believe the county engineer had some concerns about another access to Bridge Avenue when the route has several accesses already, and she was trying to minimize access points.
I don't have an engineering degree, so I really can't answer that. But I do know that there was a lot of controversy about that there was quite a bit of holdup on that, and I also know that at some point in time, Bridge Street has to be addressed, the whole corridor has to be addressed. It is probably one of the busiest ones, if not the busiest corridor into our city. I'm sure there was compromises made with that turn lane. I personally find it's a little hard to get in and out of there and a little confusing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Chris?
We had many meetings with the city council, joint meetings at the county, and to talk about this issue. And then we also had a section of county commissioners and city councilmen that did a Bridge Avenue recommendation on that. And at the time, the Tribune did an article and we had a 2-3 vote to do the turn lane. And at the time, the Tribune did an article saying, why can't you listen to the engineer? And then also, I read the recommendation for not having the turn lane, and I voted as such at that time. And I think the editorial in the paper touted my experience on the state and national level on the transportation issues. And so we had the turn lane. It got voted in, and we did that. But the more important thing is that we did get development from Quick Trip. Then that spurred Hy-Vee development. And the biggest thing is Quick Trip paid for the intersection.
Thank you, Chris. Just a second here. I need to switch over. Okay, this next question is for you, Chris. Should the county pay to resolve the sewer issues in the Stables neighborhood?
The county has a responsibility in this. The county, once upon a time, which is somewhere 50s or 60s, allowed this development to happen. And I think what happened was it was going to be a bang-bang annexation. The development was allowed to happen with city lots, and then it was going to go in the city. And what happened in the 60s was the people that lived out there did not want to go at all, and they caused such a problem. Now, about 2009 or 2010, the county board had a workshop, and we came out with, we would put $1 million to that project if the city and the county and the watershed would go forward. And at the time, the city didn't have the money. And so my offer still stands. I'd vote on it next week. If we want to do $1 million to that project, then let's go forward. But the city doesn't want to do it yet.
Thank you, Chris. Randy?
That project is long overdue. It could have been done in the year 2000 for substantially less money. You can ask City Engineer Yonke that question and he'll give you an answer. I don't know the figure exactly. As Mr. Schaaf said, the county does bear some responsibility in that, and I'm glad to hear that he's willing to participate. I think that that problem needs to be solved once and for all, and I think that'll open up that area for maybe more development. Maybe at some time down the highway, there can be another exit out there on County Road 20. So those are some other things that might happen if that sewer and water gets developed in there.
Can I?
Thank you, Randy. Rebuttal from Chris?
I think Randy's well aware that the county board voted to do an exit on County Road 20, Bath Road, if you will. And once again, the city didn't want to pursue it at the time. I think that was probably 2007 or 8. And then going forward with the Stables thing, Victoria was at our meeting and said the city's been saving money. We have money for it. And then it keeps coming up, no, we don't.
Thank you, Chris. Randy, do you have anything further to add?
No, I'll be like Dutch Reagan, I don't recall that, but. So.
Thank you. So I believe it's your turn, Randy. Would you support reducing commissioners from 5 to either 4 or 3, thus saving thousands of dollars for taxpayers? And why or why not?
Well, I'm not sure if Minnesota has where they have 3. Do they have 3 anywhere?
No.
No. I know across the border they do. They have 3. And sometimes 3 is a problem. It's too few. For example, Winnebago County, they had a supervisor die unexpectedly just about a month ago. And so they're only down to 2. And they really can't make any decisions right now because they just have 2 county commissioners. I think that 5 is okay. You get about 6,100 people, 6,200 people the way it is now to represent. That's a lot of people. If you want to keep them all happy, that's a lot of people.
Thank you, Randy. Chris?
So I think like he said, Iowa, Nebraska, they have 3. In the state of Minnesota, it's 5-member or 7-member in some of the larger counties in the metro area and like St. Louis County. To support a 3-member board, I mean, you'd have to go through the state legislature, and I'm not sure. But to his point, yes, in Freeborn County, we represent 31,000 people, but in places like Traverse County, there's less than 5,000.
Thank you, Chris. Chris, would you support redistricting the commissioner districts, redrawing the commissioner districts?
As it sits now, there's 3 people that have the majority of Albert Lea. There's 3 districts, this included 1. We have 2 wards each, and then a little bit of the county. The little bit in this regard is Country Club Road. You have Commissioner Belshon representing the east half of the county, and Commissioner Mathiasen representing the west half. I would say that should do something like either, if we ever got to redistricting, which we haven't yet, but do a pie-shaped thing, or pursue having it elected generally throughout the county.
Thank you, Chris. Randy?
I think you could probably divide up some of the townships amongst some of the people that have the city, the 3 commissioners that have majority of the city, and maybe even give where Commissioner Belshon and Commissioner Mathiasen are, give them a little bit of the city so they'd get a little different perspective on what's going on. I think that it is kind of out of balance a little bit, and of course, Freeborn County, 31,000, 18,000 live in the city, and I suppose, or in a 2-mile radius, there's another 2,000 that live right around the city. So, and like I said, Albert Lee's the engine that drives the county, and as Albert Lee goes, so goes the county. So I think that maybe it would give the rural commissioners a little more perspective if they got a little bit of the city.
Thank you, Randy. Randy, this next question is for you. Could the county take part in resolving flooding problems on East Main Street in Albert Lea?
I believe that they could, and I believe that's something that needs to be solved. We had a 2-week period this year where you couldn't get anywhere on that street there, and the man that runs Fleet Farm informed me that he said some of his customers just quit coming because it was too hard for them to get there. And they were going to Runnings in Austin because it was easier to get there. It was a flood issue, and we've had that happen quite often. In 2004, we had that 13-inch rain event that was a big problem in September, and that was shortly before the community voted on the sales tax. They voted on the sales tax in 2005, and part of it was because they felt that some of that money was going to go towards flood control. And there are things that we can do. I believe that the excuses are over with, that we should try to mitigate some of the flood problems that we have within the city. Austin has accomplished that, and so has Rochester.
Thank you, Randy. Chris?
Well, unfortunately, we've spent millions of dollars already on flood mitigation and buying buildings in that area, and it hasn't helped the problem. But I think as we approach redoing the road, of course the county can help in the supporting role or in a cost share role. I think that road needs to be redone and probably raised so it doesn't have the flooding issues, but there's a lot of flood mitigation that still needs to take place in that area.
Thank you, Chris. This next question is for you, and you'll remember this question from the primary debate. where am I at? The county is taking over the dispatch, the law enforcement center dispatch expense. What other areas could the county and city share, or the county could take over?
Everybody that runs for county commissioner, and since I've been back here, has said increase city and county cooperation. And, you know, it's on every flyer and every campaign slogan. But in 8 years, the county's IT department is now doing county and city. We've had the talk when the city manager position was open, having a joint management position. We've had the talk of the county attorney's office acting as the city attorney as well, or someone from the county attorney's office. We've had the sharing, obviously, the dispatch. We also purchased $4.5 million of radios for the armor system upgrade several years ago. Included, Freeborn County paid for that cost. $1.5 million of those radios went to the city of Albert Lea.
Thank you, Chris. Randy? Would you like me to repeat the
I
question?
would. Thank you.
You'll remember this question from the primary. The county is taking over the law enforcement center dispatch expenses. What other areas could the county and the city share, or the county could take over?
First of all, I think it's great that they took that over and got that accomplished, and that was a major hurdle. I'm sure there's other things to look at. I do know that they've made a lot of progress on, they have a couple of commissioners meeting with a couple of city council people. They are looking at things all of the time. I think that it's beneficial to look at things. I know the law enforcement center now, the city has paid their portion of the law enforcement center. There's always the talk about maybe the sheriff and the police chief should be the same fella. I don't know if that's ever possible, but as Mr. Schaaf stated, there's always, how can we cooperate better together? And I think that everyone's trying to do that.
Thank you, Randy. Randy, this question is for you. Do you support giving $500 to emergency responders in Freeborn County to encourage more responders to join the 330 the county already has?
That's a bill that came out of the legislature. Is that correct?
I believe that is a bill that came out of the legislature, but it's the question here, so I wonder if, I guess they're wondering if you support that measure on the legislature level.
You know, it's really hard to get people to volunteer. It's hard to get people to volunteer for anything. You know, I'm involved with the Albert Lea Community Theater, and it's even hard to get people to usher for a half hour in the evenings and things like that. So, I mean, and firefighters and volunteers like that, there's a lot of training involved in that, and some of it is really hard work. And, you know, sometimes I guess it's not all that bad to have somebody have a little lunch money. So if the legislature passed it, there's not much I can do about it.
But do you support it? Do you think it's a good idea?
I know that, like I said, it's hard to get people to volunteer. Those particular jobs, crawling up and down ladders, doing their training, making sure they're certified, it's a little bit more than being a volunteer. So yes, I think that's fine.
Thank you, Randy. Chris?
Yes, it is true that the state legislature passed that this year, the $500 stipend, and of course I would support that because we need the volunteer firefighters. In this county, we have 2 interstates running through it. And if there's an accident, Glenville Fire Department goes out there and cuts someone out of a car. In the summer, or in the winter, we have the Geneva Fire Department go out there and put a $200,000 truck in front of a car so that those guys don't get hit. I mean, they're volunteering, but it's serious business. It's more than climbing up and down a ladder and what was it? Climbing up and down the ladder and doing drills. it's important business, and they're called upon to have the resources available, the training available, and it's important in life-saving business.
Thank you, Chris. Do you support county dollars going to support the Albert Lee Public Library, for which rural residents are taxed, correct me if this is wrong, $260,000 a year?
I think it's just a little bit more than that. I think 270, but we increased it this year. The library came to us and said, we had this petition, and the petition was given to the city council to be open on Fridays. And the head of the library, Peggy, came and said, we have this petition. It would cost $28,000 to be open on Fridays. The city council is wondering about it, but we'd like something from the county. And so we fund the library at the county, and it's true that only rural residents pay that tax. We fund it at a percentage of the utilization. So it's been utilized at 30-some%. If it's 30%, that's what we fund it at, and then the city does the 70%. So, of course, I support library funding, and it's important enough that we added more to it this year.
Thank you, Chris. Randy?
Yes, it's the only library in Freeborn County, except for a few other small. Emmons has a small library that's volunteer, and this is really it. And I applaud the county. They gave them another $8,500 this year. That library, a few years back, $1 million was put into that library, and when they closed it for 2 days a week, I thought it was a real travesty. That $1 million was raised by the majority of the community. Only $250,000 of general fund dollars went in there. They raised $750,000, Friends of the Library and things like that. And that library is good for people to come to who really don't have a lot of resources or funding. They can use the computers, use other things, and I think it's important that we have sustainability of that library. And yes, I do support the county's funding of it.
Thank you.
Matt?
Did you have a rebuttal?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's wonderful to hear that he supports the library funding, because the state of Minnesota sets a minimum maintenance of effort on funding of libraries. And the reason that the library closed for several days at a time is because the city of Albert Lee went down to the minimum maintenance of effort. They went down to the minimum maintenance of effort to fund the library. We held our own during that time, and it's increased in the 8 years I've been there.
Thank you, Chris. Randy? You want to reply? Do you wish to reply?
Yes, they did go down. I wasn't a part of it.
Thank you, Randy. So I believe it's Randy's turn with the question, right? Did you go first last time with the rebuttals?
No,
I don't.
it's his turn.
Thank you. I wanted to ask, why would you be better at budgeting than your opponent?
You know, you have options when you budget, and as it's been said before, priorities. And my priority basically is to grow the tax base and grow the population. That's what I'd like to see happen here. And as far as the budgeting goes, they kind of go by years past, what we've got, what they've spent before, what the levy is, what the state will allow, things like that. I mean, the budget is pretty much set. It's just how you want to appropriate it. It's what portion do you want to put in different places. So it's basically appropriation of the budget.
Thank you, Randy. Chris?
First of all, as stated earlier, everyone that lives in the 4th district pays less county portion property taxes than they did before. Randy, I looked up yours from 2009 to now. You paid $125 less a year $125 less a year. And as you stated, that's lunch money. So budgeting, we took a bad situation where we had two months of reserves and made it into 6 months. In my time as commissioner, Department of Human Services is down 14 to 15 full-time equivalents. We've been restructuring, as been in the news lately. We restructure, we look at every position as it comes up through attrition or retirement, and we've done a very good job in budgeting.
Thank you, Chris. I believe we can do one more question and then perhaps we'll do the closing statement.
I can say something to that one.
Okay, reply.
Okay, my valuation of my home went down because of some of the foreclosures and things like that in our area. Some of the housing stock is not very up to snuff. And also the market value credits, they changed that, the state did. So that's part of the reason why my property taxes plummeted. And I think that, you know, they are low, so.
Thank you, Randy. Rebuttal from Chris?
Yeah, that would be part of the reason, the changes at the state and some of the housing, but the fact remains that if the house was valued the same as it was, it'd still be less.
Thank you. This time I kept track when you guys were handing the microphone back and forth, and it's Chris' turn. Was the county wise to expand to a full-time emergency management director?
I feel it was a situation that was long time in coming. 2010, and certainly with the tornadoes, we saw that. We had 9 tornadoes, 23 touchdowns. There was damage all over the county, and this is a big county to cover. But also the grants that we can go after, I mean, it's a full-time position, and I think we're losing something when it was just a part-time position. With, as I mentioned before, 2 interstates going through this county. There could be a lot of problems. So we once had to close the interstate because the truck overturned and there was bad stuff in that truck. We had to evacuate half of the city of Albert Lea. We had to call in law enforcement from other communities. We had the bus crash between Austin and Albert Lea. We have about 12 to 14 gas lines coming through this county. Something could happen. We have to be prepared.
Thank you very much. Randy?
I think it was time. I think you can't scrimp on public safety. There's some areas that you can't scrimp on, and that is one of them. You know, you need to have public safety. You need to pay for it, because if something does happen, as Mr. Schaaf stated, you need those folks and you need to have a plan. And they train for those things, and when it happens, you need to have it in place. So I think it was good that they went in that direction and got that accomplished.
Thank you very much. I believe I'm out of questions, so we can go into closing statements at this point. Are there any other questions? I have time for one more question. That clock's a little fast up there. If not, we can go into the closing statements and take a little break before we go into the sheriff's race.
2 minutes, gentlemen.
There'll be 2 minutes, and I believe this time we will start with Randy. You went first in the first time, so then Chris will go first this time, and then Randy will finish.
This election is about Freeborn County's future. During my time as commissioner, we've had a historic cooperation with the city of Albert Lea. As mentioned before, we switched to the Armor system, and we paid $1.5 million in radios for the city of Albert Lea. Our IT department at the county serves both the city and the county. We will be taking over dispatch operations to the tune of almost $400,000 a year. We've had the economic development programs with the county, or with the city, including loan programs and the developments mentioned on Northbridge Avenue. We have laid the groundwork to continue to work together to use property tax dollars wisely and efficiently. There's a bright future for Freeborn County. We have secured the VA clinic, continue to work with the federal jail contract, close to purchasing the UP rail line. We continue to be in discussions for passenger rail service, continue to explore other funding mechanisms to lower the reliance on local property taxes. We continue to be cost conscious while exploring new and innovative ways to provide more services with less resources. There are challenges ahead, but they will be met with resolve and leadership. There's a choice in this election. I hope you choose for proven leadership and proven results. I humbly ask for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Randy?
Thank you. First of all, thanks everyone for coming out this evening. Sometimes these things aren't very well attended, but we have a good crowd here this evening, and we really appreciate the radio stations, Mr. Shea and KQAQ or Power 96 for coming out, and Mr. Borland and the Albert Lee Chamber and Mr. Engstrom for your continued efforts in these forums. You know, a lot of times it takes people away from their families and other things, just like participation in government does. And I'm willing to do what it takes to be a good and a better 4th District County Commissioner. I will do what it takes to grow the county, to help the city of Albert Lee. I will use my experience, my fortitude, and some of the things that I've worked on before. I have connections both at the state level also, and county and city connections. I know these people. I can get along with these people, and I don't give up easy. So I'm available. I'm out in the community. I'm visible, and I would appreciate your support and appreciate your vote for 4th District County Commissioner. I would also like to thank Mr. Schaaf. He's been very civil through this election process, and I appreciate the 8 years that he has given to Freeborn County. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Now I'm going to turn the microphone back over to Randy Kerr of the Albert Lee Freeborn County Chamber of Commerce. But first, I'd like to ask everyone to give a round of applause for the candidate.